A pleasure, everybody. Thank you for being here. Good morning. And as Mr. Simon said, we are very happy to inspire teachers in Jalisco today. We're going to be talking now about an incredible topic that is shedding light on 21st century education, right? Especially now that we are just facing new challenges in education and we need to transform and shift the way we are teaching in the classroom. So we're going to be talking about how La Nueva Escuela Mexicana is trying to help us as teachers to achieve our aims in the classroom. So I hope you enjoy my talk. It's going to start, I think, in 5 minutes. Or should we start now, Mr. Simon? Yeah. Okay, let's just go with a brief introduction about it. So what we're going to talk firstly about is these 3 topics. This is going to be the outline for today. We have creative thinking and critical thinking. Yeah, that's going to be the first part we're going to be just highlighting. The second part will be connected with independent thinkers and problem solvers, right? Something really important in the new program that we're going to have in the next year, right? And the last part is going to be the use of technology in 21st century. So I hope you enjoy this talk, and I want you to participate. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we can answer that question, okay? So we're going to start with the first thing that is an introduction. I think most of you are familiarized with these 3 things that we have in the smart TVs right now. I was going to say in the slides. So the first thing is challenges that students are facing, right? What is the first challenge that we have here? Jobs. They are going to be facing jobs that haven't been created, and probably in 10 years, 15 years, right? When those students that we are teaching today in the classroom try to get a job, they're going to face new challenges on that. So that means that we have to develop new skills on them and prepare them for that big challenge, right? The second thing is going to be connected with technologies that have not yet been invented, right? Another incredible thing that we have to think about during this workshop. And the third part is going to be related to the problems, yeah? Problems that they will face, probably we haven't got them before. And we just saw it with the pandemic situation, right? We were not prepared for that. So just facing that we're going to be facing problems and, of course, skills. And we also have, what is the second one? Technology. So students are going to be facing 3 good things, but we as teachers, we need to support them. So I would like just to give you a portrait of what the students need, right? They need something. Just to go and achieve good results on those challenges, right? The first thing that they need, as you can observe on my slides, is connected with develop curiosity and imagination, right? So most of the kids, we know that in preschool age, primary age, they develop those skills efficiently and effectively, but we as teachers, we need to look for new ways to self-regulate and to develop those skills. The second one is going to be respect and appreciate the ideas and perceptions and perspectives of others, right? Please, one big favor, can you just come closer? Because I think probably you cannot see everything on the smart TVs. Can you see the people there at the back? If not, come closer. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you. We have lots of chairs here available, spare chairs, more of. So let's go with that. And the next one is to cope with the future, yeah? Basically, the new things that are just, as I mentioned before, problems, skills, and technology. And the number 4 is going to be to move, right, forward in the face of adversity. So those are the things that we need to contextualize, just to think about students. But what about the teachers? Because we just thought about the students, the things that they are going to be facing in the future. But we as teachers, what's going to be the way we should see it? So, first of all, as you can observe on my slide, the first thing is help students, right, to become partners, co-creators, and I would say develop autonomy, right? The second one that we are just highlighting here, foster experiences that allow collaboration, communication, and teamwork, right? And the third one, projects. In fact, in La Nueva Escuela Mexicana, there is, many things that are just concentrating on projects and solving situations in the classroom. And the number 4, physical space and online space. Yeah? Different environments, not only in the classroom, sometimes we will need support from different academic and international departments. And the last one that we are just highlighting here is going to be opportunities to apply knowledge in real-life scenarios, right? So those are going to be the things that we as teachers, we need to concentrate and focus on if we want to help students in this new 21st century, right? There is something that I just brought here to the conference that is about top 10 skills. It was taken from the Economic Forum in 2020. And something that I would like to highlight is the skills that they are highlighting here. If you observe in 2015, we have in the list critical thinking and creativity, right? And problem solving as well. But I want you to see what is the place that we are having for those skills in the 2020 list. What can you see in both? Are they different? Yeah, they have moved 2 or 3 spaces, right, in the list. But now they are in the first 3 skills that students need to succeed in the future, right? So based on that, and if we just connect that with the Nueva Escuela Mexicana, that is mentioning that we need to develop critical thinking, right, in the classroom. Why? Because critical thinking, it's the natural way kids and teenagers learn something new by activating an inquiry process. So we have to consider critical thinking and creative thinking 2 necessary skills that we need to focus in the class, right? Let's talk a little bit about both. What I want you just to visualize, right, it's this specific quote that says, that's a big shift into the way we are teaching. Instead of just saying, here is stuff to remember, let's say, here is a problem, right? And let's solve it. So that's going to be basically what we're going to be thinking about today. We're going to shift from the way we used to teach into a new way of teaching. But the most important elements is just to concentrate on the core skill, which is going to be critical thinking, right? As we know, critical thinking, it's a buzzword today. Many teachers talk about it. We observe that the kids, when they are in preschool age, they have that natural way of learning by inquiry. They start asking questions, learning by questioning the people around, right? When they go into elementary level, sometimes we just say, no more questions, let's just become listeners, right? What about if we let them start asking more questions? We are going to activate thinking. And let me highlight 2 important elements, because sometimes when we are talking about both, we need to contrast and to compare what is really important about creative thinking and critical thinking, right? On the first part of the slide, we're having creative thinking. As we can observe, when we are working in the classroom with creative thinking, we invite students to generate ideas, right? And to use them to solve problems. And on the contrary, we have critical thinking, which is going to be more analysis. We're going to require solving problem, but at the same time, activating thinking, and not thinking as a normal way of thinking. Thinking with an analysis, with a rationale, reflecting, bringing ideas, and getting a hypothesis, right? So I just want you to focus in both of them. And then I just brought another chart. I'm really sorry because of the size of the content. But I just will highlight communicating connections. Is going to be the first one here, because that's what students do when they are working with creative thinking. They generate ideas, but as you can observe, they can work with the same idea in 2 or 3 or 4 different ways. In creative thinking, another important aspect that they are highlighting here is that they just go with unusual possibilities, right? They think out of the box. And in critical thinking, they are going to improve, refine ideas, and as you can observe, they will develop new possibilities, make decisions, judgments, and they will just go into the action, right? So what we're going to do now, I just want you to observe 2 examples and tell me, in this type of exercise, are we approaching critical thinking or creativity? That was taken from a book. And I think probably some of you, when you look at that exercise, is going to be familiar for you, and you say, oh yeah, I have used it once. So tell me something. Is that aligned with critical thinking or with creative thinking? Yeah, probably I need to read it for you. Yeah. Work in pairs. Answer the questions about these sports and activities. Then make the rule about when we use go, play, and do. That is critical thinking, right? So with this type of exercise, we are allowing students to think, to use high-order thinking. If you want to name Bloom's taxonomy, it's going to be helpful. But at the same time, we are helping students to classify and to learn by doing, right? There is another exercise that I want to show you. It says, work in pairs. This goes two ways that you could write a book review to make it interesting to the reader. Then present these ideas to the class. Is it aligned with critical thinking or creative thinking? Creative thinking, right? So what we're going to do now, we're going to have an activity for everybody here in the audience. And guess what? I will show you some activities, and I want you to stand up. And if the activity is aligned with critical thinking, you will say hi to your friend, to the friend that is next to you. Please, just say hi. Don't ask more, okay? And creative thinking in this case is going to be with an elbow. So you're going to greet your partner with an elbow. Are you ready? Yeah, so stand up, everybody. And the people that are there at the back, please, could you come closer so that you can be next to somebody, so that you can say hi, right? Thank you. So are you ready? And remember, if it is connected with creative thinking, what are you going to do? With the elbow, you're going to greet your partner, right? But if it's critical thinking, we're going to say hi, right? Perfect. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Quick, go. Read the exercise. That's right. It says brainstorm ideas on one topic into a large piece of paper. Don't edit these. Just write them down as soon as they come into your head. Yeah, I was expecting to have your elbows ready, yeah? So I was expecting to have the elbows ready. It was creative thinking, that's right. What about the next one? Let's see. So, say hi to your friends. Thank you. Say hi to your friends that are around. Okay, awesome, fantastic. Next one. Ask the students the same question at least 10 times and ask them to give a different answer each time. Okay, but remember that you need to touch at least with elbow your partner. That's right. Yeah, touch your partner. We are not in pandemic anymore, okay? So touch them. Okay, you have say hi. Now you are touching the elbow. We are improving that connection. So now what about the next one? Combine some of the features of two different objects or ideas to see if you can create several more. All right, I'm just looking at you to see what you do. That's right. All right, very good. Different objects and ideas to see if you can create. So it's creative thinking. I was expecting for your elbows. Next one. Remember something? Yeah? Creative thinking is with the elbow. Critical thinking, it's high. Okay? Are you ready? We go with the other. Okay, go ahead. Order, list different ways. Yeah? Explain. Okay. Yeah, that's critical thinking. Very good. Critical thinking. Awesome. One more. Yeah? So your elbows, teachers? Okay. Thank you very much. So go to your seats. Thank you. Have a seat. Thank you. So if you observe here, probably, I think it's not big enough, but I'm going to read it. When we are working with critical thinking, we should approach those specific skills in the classroom. The first one is going to be analyzing, describing, right? The second one is going to be connected with classifying, arguing. And then we have problem solving, comparing, defining, tracking cause and effect, and then we go with explaining and evaluating, right? So if we want to approach activities that involve critical thinking, we're going to be working with those abilities. Now let's talk a little bit about creative thinking. Creative thinking will involve brainstorming, designing, entertaining, imagining, improvising, and innovating, right? So far so good? So I just want you to observe the characteristics of critical thinkers so that you can recognize when your students are activating and going into that movement. The first one is connected with, they have a desire to be well informed. Sometimes they are reading, they are checking on the web, but they just say, teacher, my dad is saying this, right? But they have that natural desire to be informed. The next one is curiosity. Most of the kids, they have that curiosity, I think, as a natural appeal. Next one, we have open-mindedness, right? And tolerance to ambiguity, that's another important aspect. Integrity, respect for alternative viewpoints of view, different people, different way of thinking. And creativity and responsibility, right? So those are the aspects that we have to observe in the classroom because that's the way students will be responding and acting, referring to critical thinking. So what we're going to do now is just observe the following quote. I took it from a book. In fact, it's Pearson's book. Questioning is the heart of critical thinking, right? Do you agree or disagree with that? Yeah. Do you ask questions in the classroom? Let's see what type of questions do you normally ask, okay? Because when we're thinking about essential questions, sometimes they call them big questions, some others they call them powerful questions. I mean, there are different ways to name it. But one of the things that I really like is that all of them, they help students to go into that. That is activating inquiry and critical thinking. So the question must be answerable. That's the first thing we have to contextualize when we are bringing a critical thinking question into the classroom. The question should be answerable, right? The second one, is going to be the answer cannot be a simple fact. So if I just come and I ask them about when was America discovered, is it a critical thinking question? No, it's a simple fact. And the third one, the question cannot be too personal. Hey, how are you? What do you do, right? That's not exactly a critical thinking question, right? So I'm having a checklist for you. And the next one, the question should be precise, exact, and one of the most important, thought-provoking, right? And the last one, as you can observe, allow them, time to ponder for a response, to reflect for a response. Is that right? So that's going to be like a checklist that we should consider when we are designing and preparing critical thinking questions in the classroom. And I'm just insisting on critical thinking because it's one of the things that you will approach in your new Escuela Mexicana program, right? So I just brought this fantastic activity that you can use in your planning and teaching expertise that is about the question machine, right? When you are generating a question, try to observe if the question matches all of those elements. For example, if the answer is easy to look up, if the question is connected to the theme, if it has one or two possible answers, multiple answers, and of course, if my students are going to be learning something. So basically what we do is that we start here, then we move forward, and if it's a yes, the question is ready, right? So that's another way we can start generating powerful questions in the classroom, right? Okay, teachers, now, guess what? We're going to check if you do that in the classroom, right? Right now. Do you apply these type of things? Or not definitely? Let's check together, right? So I want you to stand up again. Yeah, we're going to practice with a little bit of stumps, right? So you will give me your answer. One stump means I never do it, right? 1. 2 stumps, I sometimes do it, right? Right and left. And one stamp and a clap, I always do it in my classroom, right? Are you ready? Just answer me, okay? Question number 1. Do you ask open-ended questions? Okay. Oh, lots of claps there. What about next question? Do you embrace students' original responses to questions? All right. The next one we're having is, do you build on a student's own experiences or knowledge when presenting new information, activating prior knowledge? All right, awesome. Next one, do you provide students with opportunities to work with peers on projects and activities? Okay, awesome. Do you motivate students to make predictions? All right, next one. Do you create opportunities for students to scaffold their peers' learning? Okay, being very honest, thank you. And next one, do you encourage students to answer what if questions? All right. Do you offer hands-on activities and new experiences in the lesson? Okay, just the stumps. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, have a seat. Thank you, teachers, for that honesty. And I brought for you some activities that you can incorporate and best practices that you can use into your classes if you would like to foster more of these new skills that in fact is going to be really necessary in the next year, right? So it's going to be in the Padlet. Feel free to scan the QR code and you will be directed into a Padlet where you can get lots of activities to work with critical thinking in the classroom, right? So I'm just giving you some time to scan the QR code. In fact, Recrea Academy has my presentation. If you want later, they can share it with you, but now you can just scan it, okay? So is it working? Perfect, thank you. Let's just go with the next part of the conference today that is about independent thinkers and problem solvers, right? There is something important that I just read, and I brought it to the conference today, that it's about 2 studies by the University of California and Michigan that they just discover and reveal that project-based learning is an effective strategy to foster critical thinking in the classroom, right? Problem solving. So, if we just look at La Nueva Escuela Mexicana, again, part of the things that we have as ejes articuladores, right? It's here. What does it say? Elaboración de proyectos, right? So, there is a book that, in fact, if you want to read it, you can find it in the web, that is by Pam Crossman, and it's called Core Practices for Project-Based Learning. And she highlighted in her book 5 important aspects to work with project-based learning. The first one is engage sustained inquiry. So we have to help students to find valuable inquiry in the classroom. So we as teachers, we connect the question to the topic, but at the same time with the community, with something that should connect them with the things they see in real life. The next aspect is going to be students receive feedback. Who is going to offer that feedback? We as teachers, right? And of course, they receive supports, constant revision, and then my favorite is that they share work with a wider audience. Some of the teachers, they love to invite experts to the classroom, and those experts, they just come with information, and then the kids get that information to present their final product, right? Kids and teenagers, both of them. Then, yeah, of course. This one, right. Thank you. No, don't worry, thank you. And the next one is going to be about reflection. So there is a moment at the end where they present the product where the students are going to be reflecting about what they have created. And those are going to be the 5 steps that Pam mentioned in her book, right? So, but what I want you to do right now is just contextualize how to apply project-based learning in your classroom. If you want to apply project-based learning successfully, we need to move into more student-centered. We need to consider inquiry-based learning as an instructional way of teaching. We need to start working with a lot of activities that foster collaboration, creativity. Students need to identify by themselves those new gaps that they might have in their knowledge. And of course, conduct research. Apply their learning to develop solutions and present their findings. Those are going to be the most important activities that we should care about if we are working with project-based learning in the classroom. So what I want you to do right now, teachers, I have a video for you. I want you to watch that video, and within the video we're going to see 5 important elements, right? And some key elements. I want you to identify them to work with PBL, with project-based learning, right? If you identify those elements, there's going to be a present for you in Pearson's stand, right? Are you ready? Yeah? Okay, let's go very quickly with the video. I think a little bit more volume.
Tells them information and they suck it up.
Do you listen?
And then the students choose different paths to explore that question.
One of the problems in the ocean is that with the higher amount of CO2, calcifying organisms are decreasing. We're testing to see how well life in the ocean lives without calcifying organisms.
When the students know that what they're doing in a classroom has an audience outside the classroom, it really helps them deepen their thinking on it. I think that is pretty authentic in terms of what the future work world holds.
So the second commonality is the PBL unit provides academic rigor. This is not something that teachers would add at the end of a unit because they learned all the content they're supposed to learn already, and so this is, you know, the fluff that they can do at the end. This is the unit. This is the way that they learn the content.
So what's your standards you're going to be covering?
We're going to do 5A, which is analyzing scenes. This is huge in this book.
When you can show that you're incorporating the standards, building these projects that aren't fluffed, a lot of eyes and ears open, because people are hungry for that.
Structured collaboration refers to allowing the students to work together, but giving them a structure within which to work.
Our project was to create a aquaponics system, and we had several people working on it. In my case, I was kind of the team leader. 2 members of my group who were kind of just like the thinkers that would think, what if we could include this? Once those 2 came up with the ideas, it would go through another person who was kind of like the designer to figure out, oh, how would we make it? And then it would kind of go up to me and say, and I would kind of be like the final decider.
We would never put 4 kids together at a table and say, here's a task, get it done during this time period. It's very carefully scaffolded.
There's an interesting shift in roles that happens in a PBL unit. The teacher becomes more of a facilitator, and the students take more control.
You guys are the Red Cross responders. You already looked at news broadcasts, and you took down some notices and wonderings. You need to take all of this, and you need to bring it together.
So I have to write down the aspects of the news and broadcast.
You got it. Exactly. So CASM's got it. CASM can give you some ideas on how to start.
But as a facilitator, the teacher needs to be able to ask good questions. She needs to redirect if necessary, give hints but not answers. And that's really an interesting role for teachers to learn how to do. Multifaceted assessment refers to assessment being integrated throughout the entire PBL unit.
I do a lot of formative assessments. It's not a test at the end of the week or the end of the unit. You're doing a lot of small check-ins with the students to see where they're at and to see that they're growing along. I think it's really important to also make sure that the students are assessing themselves.
It's a process that we are really trying to bring back again to the students so that kids are part of the assessment process and that assessment is just not being done to them.
All right. Do you like the video? Yeah? Well, okay. And do you find those important aspects that they were mentioning in the video? Those 5 key elements? Which is the number 1? Real world connection. Yeah, that's the number 1. Real world connection. The second one? Core to learning. So we have 2 people. The third one? Collaboration. 4 people. One more? Okay, they conduct the research and we just give them more control on their learning, right? It's a very important aspect. And is there another? Assessment, okay? Teachers, right? Assessment, perfect. So if you look at the video, all of the elements are aligned with this. First of all, you start with a challenging problem or a question. That's going to be the step number 1, right? Step number 2, students guided by the teacher, they work with sustained inquiry. They use the web, they just go and investigate around the community, and they bring evidence of that. Then the third one is authenticity. Authenticity is going to be connected with creativity. The way the kids start working with the project, and they will find answers to the problem or to the question using creativity on that stage. The next one is students have a voice and a choice. Some students like to write, some others like to speak, right? Some others are very good at drawing, so give them a choice. And if it's possible, when you are just organizing them in teams, assign them responsibilities according to those special abilities. If you have a student that is very good at speaking, he's going to be the presenter. If you have students that are very good probably at writing, he's going to be the conductor research, right? And so on. Then we have another one that is the last one. It's when they present the final product, the problem product, that is reflection, revision, and then they present it to the audience. Is that right? So those are going to be the 5 steps. And we as teachers, what's going to happen with the teachers? If we are the facilitators, what's going to be the next step? So in the classroom, we as teachers, we have to align the project and the question with the standards. It could be with Mexican standards, with a common European framework, with the global scale of English, with any type of standard that you're using in your classes. Then, as you can observe, the next stage is build the culture of project work. Because sometimes the students don't like to work with projects because there hasn't been any culture, I think, distribution, but at the same time, we start, in Spanish I say a word that is evangelizar, yeah, but I think here in English commonly we just provide them with ideas to start working with project-based learning, right? And the next one is manage activities. Scaffold student learning is going to be the 4th step. They need a lot of scaffolding, right? And the next one is going to be connected with become an engager, a coach, listen, monitor, observe, right? But not all the time evaluate and evaluate. No. We're going to go with engagement, then we're going to go into activating knowledge, then we go into revision, monitoring, and finally, why not? We need to build our own rubrics for assessing those projects, right? And the last stage here, as you can observe, it's marked as engage and coach, because we as teachers, we are going to build those tools to analyze the results of the project. Today, I want to share with you that this could be a wonderful idea so that you can start designing the plans and the calendar for your work if you are planning to work with a project, right? And the next thing is a Padlet. In this Padlet, that in fact it was prepared by one of my friends, Cristina Miranda, and she shared with me this Padlet where we can find lots of rubrics and activities just to go into that stage of assessment. Because I know sometimes it's very difficult for us to go into that assessment stage. When the kids, when the teenagers and adult students are presenting their projects, we should have assessment tools. And we're gonna find them here in this Padlet, right? Okay, teachers. So now we are just going into the last part of this conference that is about using technology for language learning. And I would like to ask you a question. How do children learn languages so easily? Who can answer that question? Music?
Well, the current linguistic theory is that children before they reach the age of puberty, their brains are like sponges, so they absorb the information much quickly than an adult. So at that age, their brain is still malleable, so they can acquire language more easily than an adult. So that's basically how they learn English so easily compared to an adult.
So we have another. Thank you, my friend. Please. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think that kids don't have a lot of things going on. They can focus easily on everything. And if they see the activities as something fun to do, they will enjoy it.
Okay, and the last comment here, teacher.
I've seen that it happens more easily when they have the language present in their lives. At their home, when they listen to music, when they have easy access to English material.
Thank you. So, I just got this. Probably you have heard about it, right? And today, I think it's becoming another buzzword in the area of teaching, that is gamification. And the next aspect, probably from some years ago, learn by doing. Those are the two incredible things that we need to contextualize in those scenarios. Based on that, there is a quote that I found interesting and I brought it. Change the culture of education and infuse it with the same technologies for learning that our students use for living. So you just connect ourselves with the technologies and gadgets and devices that students use every single day, right? A good way to do that is with Monly Pearson. Monly Pearson is an application that Pearson and Monly developed that applies gamification, learn by doing. It has an appropriate content, knows how the amazing human brain is, because it has, I will say, visual connection with words. It connects the visual, it connects the word, and repetition. And then, as you can observe, it doesn't focus only on the process, it focuses on the final result, and students speak, or that's the aim, that we want them to speak like a native speaker, right? So what is inside Monly? Monly uses a unique space repetition system that improves the ability to memorize new words. But probably if I say that, you will say, oh, memorizing words, a new system, what happened? So the author of the book, The Owner's Manual of the Brain, is the one that integrated this concept in Monly, Pearson-Monly application. And they say that, in fact, if we just go into this, I'm going to read it. What happens in the app is that the new and more difficult words or phrases will be shown together with older and less difficult ones. But as you progress, the old information will be shown less and less frequently than the new one. And this is what happens in the reality when we are learning something. Teachers, they go with the scope and sequence, and they review the same. And when they observe that the kids have consolidated, then they just remove that topic from the scope and they go with a new one. And the new topics are being presented. It's the same, right? And it's based on this book, yeah? So that is going to be the author. In fact, he's the author of the book, and it says work involving higher mental functions has a good result, and that's going to be reflected on fluency. So there is another thing that I would like to highlight here about Monly, is that they really care about the number of words that students are exposed to. And they say that the lexical coverage you need to reach a fluency in any language is going to be the equivalent to this number. If we just look at the first, for example, we can visualize that if I just manage 100 words, I can perfectly make myself understood 50%, right? Then I go into 500 words, it's a 67. But if I have control of 1,000 words in English, it's going to be a 75. And if I can manage 5,000 words, it's going to be a 98. That is about the lexical coverage that Monly is presenting. And finally, they just highlighted 3 important aspects when we are talking about lexical coverage. We need to focus on the most common words, so that's what Monly does. It's just working with real life words, the ones that students use in the scenarios where they are living. That's why Monly has 3 versions: Monly for kids, Monly for business, and Monly for English, right? 3 different categories. And the next one is going to be connected with the more words you will know, the closer you will be to fluency, right? And the last one, knowing at least 100 words helps you to understand 50 of any text on any language that you are studying, that you are learning, right? So those are the 3 things that Monly tries to help you with in a part of the material, because those are extra resources, yeah? It's an application that, in fact, if you want to get one, you just go to the App Store or Android Store, and you can get a free demo account for some specific, some certain days, right? Available. It manages 41 languages. So it's not only for English. It has 41 languages. And remember that it's available in all devices, mobile phone, cell phone, or computer, right? So I just brought this as a support tool that you can use for your classes. And now, guess what? It's a moment to stand up, teachers, stand up. And all the things we have talked about today, are going to be part of a movement that is going to be connected to the 21st century way of learning, right? And do you remember the main topic of this conference? Shedding light on 21st century education. So I will invite you to turn on your lamps, your lamps from the cell phone, your lightings here. Turn them on, please. Thank you. Can you help me to turn them on? Yeah. And you can just point it to the front, and I want you to say something with me. We're going to read it together. 1, 2, 3. Read it with me. Yeah, so you say education is the movement from darkness to light. I want to lead that movement. Thank you very much, teachers.